Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the On-Site Insight podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tompkins, and today we have none other than Chase Jones from the Happy Buyers Club. Chase, I know we've been talking off camera, man. I want you to give our listeners a little bit of a recap of you, but once again, thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy man like every single agent out there, but man, thank you again. I appreciate it.
No worries, my guy. Thank you. I put my phone on silent. If you hear it buzzing over on the sidelines, ignore that. I'm Chase from Happy Buyers Club. Happy Buyers Club. I'll start there. Like, we are a residential buyers agency. So we're helping first home buyers, exhausted families, developers, investors,
everyone
buy the right house for the right price. We're also a resource, I'd call it, for everyone. Not everyone can afford to use a buyer's agent. So we're trying to become the number one resource for all buyers that they can come to make that home buying process a little bit less terrifying. Come there to work out what do they need to do to get prepared to buy a property. How do they can go from being just like a browser to an actual buyer, how to make a good offer, how to speak to agents, what to tell them. So that's the end of the story. That's where we find ourselves. We've been at it for about 2 years. Prior to that, I was a plumber. After a few
we're going to talk about the transition, because I have just to contextualize it as well, a long-time listener and a previous employer of ours. He's actually transitioned from an apprenticeship, qualified, and so we're going to delve down that little rabbit hole and talk about that. Sweet.
So plumber turned car sales for a little while, and then to tell you a quick story, like my business partner Sam, who's one of my best mates, we've known each other for 18 years. He came knocking on my door 2 years ago and was like, "I got an idea." He's like, "Quit your job. We're going to start this thing." And we jumped, and that's where Happy Buyers Club was born. It wasn't called Happy Buyers Club on day one, but I'm really glad that it now is.
Because so tell us, what was it called on day one?
No, we got to keep that under wraps. It was a shit name.
Cringeworthy. Just something that you just threw out.
And Happy Buyers Club probably speaks to our ethos of doing things. Like, if we can get more people buying happy, like that's what it's all about.
That's good. I love that.
The house is the win. When you're going through it, like, even everyone that buys a house still feels sick after they've done it. Everyone thinks they've overpaid. The experience is generally not that enjoyable for people, because they're like, that was just a lot of stress. And if we can just help everyone make that experience just a little bit nicer, then mission accomplished for us.
Yeah, man. We'll go down that rabbit hole, but I'm going to wind it all the way back, because like me being an investor and stuff, I'm going to talk about that, right? Because that's a common thing that you find. Once it's all great in the moment, but then once it's that you like start questioning, fuck, did I do the right thing?
The realities.
The reality. Delete and the first mortgage hit, the repayment hits, and you're like, fuck. But anyway, so wind it all the way back. Plumbing apprenticeship, everything like that. You've seen it through qualified, I'm assuming. How was that journey? And then how did that journey look when you made the transition into car salesman? Like, how was...
I loved plumbing. Loved it. I look back at those times very fondly. I had some fantastic employers that threw me and the guys I was working with in the deep end really early. And that taught you a lot, both, in terms of trade skills, but we were doing, at least for the last 3 or 4 years that I was in the industry, we were doing a lot of maintenance work. So that's a lot of knocking on doors at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Love it.
Hey, I'm Chase. This is what, hey, can we run a lead out? Do you mind if we play some music, once the sun comes up? But you're learning immediately from that point in time, customer service. And customer service is something that really is at the heart of every industry, whether it's real estate, whether it's building, whether it's, accounting, it doesn't matter. If you can speak to people, it's going to bode well for anything you do in life. And that is something that I was so appreciative for, because, you're learning the skills of like, hey, it's $100 for me to knock on your door. So let's prove our worth from the second that we're knocking on the door. What's the problem? Show me around. Shoes are always off when you go in someone's house. You're explaining to them your thought process. You're not just going in and diving in and rustling around in your truck. You're sort of like, this is what I think the problem might be.
And everyone's different too.
This is what I'm planning on doing. This is what you can expect from me. And then at the end of the day, you're showing them what the work you've done is. That template is applicable in any industry. This is what I think the problem is. This is what I'm going to do about it. This is what I've done. If you can do that, you are in 100 times better position than someone that just comes in, might do the best work in the world, but didn't communicate any of it along the line. So back then, I remember we used to do it because we didn't want people like staring over our shoulder all day.
Oh yeah, this is
which you get. You know, you rock up to a job and you're like, hey, we're going to dig a trench from, you know, the back corner of your yard to the front yard. It's going to take us all day. We're going to do it for this reason. We're going to get that water and we're going to spit it out at the gutter.
Yeah.
And they'd stand there all day and watch you. You're like, mate, do you want to grab a shovel?
Yeah.
Like, but, you know, for the vast majority of times, you are, you know, communicating well, ripping in, doing a good job. And it's just, I look back at those times being like, yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I've got, you know, soft hands now, but it's probably set me up really well to work in real estate as well. Yeah. Just unlike, you know, water is an incredibly damaging force. Yeah. You know, in Brisbane property, all right, we've seen it here in the last few weeks.
It's raining right now. Yeah.
And just being able to like help and advise people about, you know, ways in which they can mitigate groundwater, roof water, you know, downpipes not going to the right place, how to replace your water pipes, hot water systems, all that sort of stuff. They're small things, like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, properties are worth, you know, eye-watering amounts of money.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you can point out where a couple of $1,000s is going to need to be spent in the next few years, it's, mate, people will just appreciate the confidence that comes from that.
Yeah.
As a buyer, you just don't want to be surprised by anything. And imagine you jump into your new property, like we're saying, whether it be an investment or an owner-occ, and the hot water system, you know, blows within 2 weeks and you find out that it's a 20-year-old system. Yeah, right. You know, it's not hard to check the sticker, but it's something that, you know, it's just part of my process.
But a lot of the time they don't. Like these owners or potential buyers, that you know, they're not looking at the
Remember this, like, you know, I'm lucky that my full-time job is to, you know, harass real estate agents, inspect properties, and then, you know, land the plane. If we find the right one, attack it and get it. But for some people, they get 20 minutes to view a property on a Saturday with 100 other people, and they're expected to make, you know, $1 million decision about it.
Yeah.
That
Very
afternoon.
hard. Very
that
hard.
Afternoon, potentially. Yeah. No wonder they're not checking the hot water system sticker. No wonder they're not, you know, eyeing off the rust spots in the gutters. No wonder they're not even probably counting bedrooms. They're just like, Yeah.
It's so
freaking
hard.
Out. It looks so beautiful in the photos.
It's so hard because, like, you know, take it from me, like this whole like the buyers like real estate, like the market at the moment. I feel, man, dealing with, no offense to a real estate agents at all, right? This is a very broad thing that I'm using. It is such a from what I'm feeling and I'm telling you right now, I'm dealing with real estate on the weekly for personal, and it's almost like, you know, they're doing you a favor. It's and this is from me, right? From just a standard Joe Blow, not a buyer's agent or someone that's affiliated with a developer or anything like that. That's what I feel. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way. It's so,
for sure.
It's so hit and miss. Like you're trying to put forward an offer, and then it's like, oh, you know, they're like, oh, mate, you better go up. Like, you know, there's 100%. About 4 other people. Or, you know, there's no. Back in the day, it was almost like they're trying to help you. Like anything. Like, okay, yeah, I can't get you that one, but I can get you this one. They're selling it at the moment. I feel like they're just tick and flick. They're just transactional.
100%. I reckon that harvers back to that. Stock's never been tighter. Yeah. So they know that once they get a listing and a good listing and it comes onto the market, that they're going to have people fighting over it. Yeah. They don't have to be helpful. They don't even have to be polite. Yeah. They just have to hand out the brochures, take the numbers, and then get everyone super emotional about that property and let them all fight it out to try and, you know,
and then
sell
all you're doing is just putting forward the contracts to the sellers.
Whereas, you know, go back to maybe when we were buying our first properties, you know, you might have gone back to see something 3 times. Yeah. You maybe got to, you know, see it once on an open home. You might get, you know, brought there privately. Like I remember when I bought my house, we brought our dog for the second inspection, like for a private inspection, just to see if she'd like the yard. Yeah. Had a bit of a run around in the yard. Fuck, that's never happening anymore. But it was a different level of customer service. Yeah. And I think that real estate agents are in a bit of a tough spot where, they'd have a lot of time wasters on their hands. And there is a bit of a professional courtesy that exists between, you know, buying agents and selling agents because we don't have time to waste. Yeah, exactly. Neither of us. Yeah. So they know that if we've got a retained client that's paying us good money to find them the right property, well, then they know that, one, we know what we're doing. We're not going to stuff them around. When we do find the right thing, we'll move quickly, confidently. They're going to get a good offer that is, you know, like, you know, an informed offer. And it's just generally an easier transaction for them. Yeah. You know, those relationships do not happen overnight either. Like you work freaking hard to, you know, build those relationships. I always think of like our client, we've got two sets of clients. One is our actual clients that we're buying for, and the other set of clients are the 1,500 agents that work in the greater Brisbane area. And we've got to make sure that they feel the love too, that even when we go see properties that that don't suit our clients, they're still giving them great feedback, helping them with their vendor reports so that they can say, hey, I had Chase through from Happy Buyers Club. He thought it was great for this, and this reason, didn't like it for this, and this reason, and they gave us a bit of a where they saw value up to about 1.5 million. That to them is gold because they're making 50 phone calls on a Saturday afternoon or a Monday, get connected to 10 of them because everyone else is like block, delete, leave me alone. And trying to get pricing feedback or even just constructive feedback for their vendors is like drawing blood from a stone. So I get their frustrations too. But for your average buyer, 100%, they're just beating their head against the wall, being like, they're all pricks. And then
what do you do?
And then they've got the hide to call me for the next 2 years, being like, "Can I sell your place? Can I sell your place?" It's a pretty ruthless industry, and for those that are in it for a short space of time, it's all very hard and fast, and they're like, "Wow, I'm not looking forward to doing that again anytime soon." For those that are, we wouldn't have a job. I don't think if it wasn't for real estate agents and the way they behave, we might not have a job. And I guarantee you that if being using a buyer's agent was free, every person would use one. Everyone would.
If they had a government scheme, right? And I thought we had a guy on here a while back, and we were talking about this whole playbook about buyer's agents and this whole philosophy. I was like, if they brought out like some sort of like government scheme or grant or like re-engineered the whole commission thing and man, it would be fucking no one's dealing with anything. Like you're just going with the buyer's agent. You're saying, this is what I want. Go and find it. Go and hunt. This is my area.
It's not wild
Call me with like 3 or 4 options in like a week.
But it's not wild to think that buyer's advocacy might flip on its head one day. Like, in the US, like they have a setup where it's shared commission between buyer's agents and selling agents. Think of mortgage brokers here, in its current, format for, people using mortgage brokers, which the vast majority of people in this country
they reckon it's going to be 90%.
Because the service they provide is unparalleled and it's so unbiased. It's actually good advice. It's going to get you the best product, for your situation and for what you're trying to achieve. Imagine if, obviously, pain thing to use a mortgage broker, they get their licks from, from the banks and that sort of stuff. Whereas imagine if a buyer's agent was in the future free to use for a consumer and they got paid by the agency or the selling agent, whatever it may be. I don't think that is a reality.
I don't think it's reality, but I do think it's going to happen.
It's something to think about. It's something to always be conscious of. Like,
it's definitely going to be something that's going to happen. And I think in years to come, people are going to... it's almost like a double thing. You could advertise it in a way where, the buyer's agency are free, but then that buyer's agent might be in cahoots with the agent.
The waters would get very muddy very quickly, and that's why I can't see that being the reality here in Australia anytime soon. But you're not wrong. If it was free, I'd have a lineup out the door.
Oh yeah, you'd be the busiest guy going. Yeah, it'd be massive. Because even for us, like we don't. And this is going back to the broker scenario, right? Contextually, this is like the similar thing. If you want to compare it, I've found now what's happened is all the banks are now turning around being like, oh no, come for us for lending. They're almost wanting you to go direct to them because they're now realizing that all the brokers are getting all the market. They got the market share. Like no one's going to the bank anymore. Like we had a phone call from ANZ like recently and they're like, come direct to us for the lending. I'm like, no, like it's too much.
The banks are doing just
too much
fine,
of a it's too much of a headache. Like we're going to go through our broker and they're going to do all the stuff. And it's just like now, if you want to wind the clock back like 10 years, fucking going to a bank was an absolute nightmare. I'm like trying to deal with them. Like, fuck.
Hey, listen, exactly. They sort of made their bed and don't worry, they're doing just fine. Like they're all those big four are making like multi-billion-dollar profits every single year. They're doing just fine. They don't need to claw anything back. It all comes back around. Man. So that's it. Like, plumbing was a huge part of my life. Taught me a lot of things, taught me hard work, taught me early starts.
And where were you at that point in your life? Like where?
So I was, funnily enough, living with my now business partner. We were housemates back then. So we were in our early 20s.
And he was doing...
He is a real estate agent.
Okay, so he was doing real estate at the time.
Not at that time. He was at uni, but eventually... we lived together for 8 years. If you want to start a business with someone, how's this for groundwork? We lived together for 8 years. We've been mates for 18 years. We've met our eventual wives. They wouldn't let us live together anymore. He moved to the UK. I stayed here in Brisbane. And eventually came back around and he was like, that's why when he said quit your job, let's start a business. I was like, yeah, man. I trust you with my life. Let's go for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So at that point in time when I was plumbing, I was in my early 20s. Happy to sort of, earn my pennies as an apprentice, and then obviously a little bit more than pennies once we were qualified. But yeah, mate, after a few too many years on roofs and hanging off the sides, replacing gutters and crawling under houses and all the rest of it, I wanted to do something different. Had done it straight out of school. I went overseas for a year. Went over and snowboarded my way around Canada and caused a bunch of trouble.
So you got qualified, you were dabbling in a bit, and then the opportunity came that you'd just go and travel for a little bit.
It was just one of those things where it was like, if I don't do it now, I'll probably never do it. Had intentions of being away for a few months, stayed for a year, and then came back and had another one of those moments where you're just like, all I've known is school and then plumbing, so maybe I should try something different. Found my way into motor vehicle sales, had a hoot doing that. It wasn't any easier. Like that job was 6 days a week, 10, 11 hour days. But you learn a whole different set of skills, when you're on the floor and just like you're living and dying by, sales that you're making. Had a great go with that. Ended up managing a Mazda dealership out Ipswich way.
And you would have learned massive sales skills. And
I loved it. I loved it. Like none of it, like I look back, I'm like both those jobs were terrible. And somehow I'm just smiling the whole way through. Ended up sort of pivoting within the motor industry to be a vehicle broker. So you're sort of like the middleman between those like consumers that were like, hey, just go get me the best deal on this car, and you're just leveraging those relationships to access sort of fleet pricing on stuff. That was great. That allowed a little bit more flexibility. That job was not the the time burner that the previous jobs and now this one is. But that allowed me to start a family, got married. Got 2 kids, 2 boys, 5 and 3, who now are like, where's dad? Because real estate is all in. When it's your business, like we are 6 days a week, 12-hour days. And it is just the 2 of us still. But we are absolutely rocking and rolling 2 years in.
So talk about this whole part, because we've had a few other agents on. It's been the common thing, right? Everyone sees all the glitz and the glam of socials and the Lambos and or they want it all. Everyone wants it all. Fuck, it must be fantastic. You do nothing. I think the biggest part, and I preached this a few episodes back about that whole lifestyle. It's fucking full on, dude. Your phone doesn't. You don't stop. And a buyer's agency, I would say, it's even worse than real estate. You work for and they're buying with emotion, a lot of them. So, it's...
Tell you what, it is a huge emotional thing to take on. Like if someone's coming to us and wanting to pay us good money to go and represent them in the market, they are either extremely time poor, they are frustrated, they're over it, they've got 2 kids, full-time jobs, and they're just like, I'm sick of missing out on stuff, I'm sick of burning every Saturday, every night trying to make this happen. Help me. So you play counsellor more than buyer's agent sometimes, but it's just about you're trying to build confidence in them to pay the right money for when the right property presents itself, whether that's off market, pre-market, or on market, and we're fighting it out on an auction day. It's all the same. When the right property presents itself, you got to just find a way to make that happen.
Make it work.
But back to like the glitz and the glamour of real estate, like one, it's not often a reality. Social media is a weird place.
It's a highlight reel.
For sure. And, I don't know many people, particularly in my life, and I'm in real estate, that think that that's very cool. I think that a lot of people look at, the Lambos and the flash houses and the sunnies and the shoes with no socks, and they're just like, what a buckwit. But yet somehow there's a market for that sort of stuff. I mean, for us, I know that social media has played an incredible part in our the 2 years that we've been operating. But but for totally different reasons. You know, and we sort of spoke about this, like, you know, people step into our podcast studios. I run a podcast as well, and people are like, whoa, geez, this looks a lot better on Instagram. But for us, it was always about, we want to be a resource. And to do that, and again, I think this is applicable across any industry, where if you can show people that you're an authority in whatever it is that you're doing and capture it and make it entertaining and educational and put it on social channels, you'd be amazed at the traction that you can get out of that. Like for us, you know, we do a weekly podcast, we cut that up, and that can be anything. That can be questions and answers. That can be walking through every part of the buying process, contracts, building and pest inspections, whatever. Guests in, ask the questions. And we put some fun stuff in our socials as well, you know, walkthrough videos, suburb profiles, but it's all meant to educate. And by the time people are contacting us, and we get 90% of our leads from Instagram, 90%. If you told me that when we started that business, I'd be like, that is insane. Who would find someone on the friggin' internet on Instagram? And they almost
feel like they know you already.
You've passed the test already. They know how you speak. They know what you do. They know how you do it, because you've given away all the secret sauce almost on your Instagram, on your podcast, and all they want to know is how much you cost and when can you get started. And what an awesome place to be if you're willing to, you know, put your your bravado away and just be real. You know, put it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like nothing that we do is perfect. I think we were speaking about like those. You look back at some of the stuff you did, you know, a year and a half ago, and you're like, oh,
I seen a video on my desktop today from like 2018 that I did off my phone, and like me and the admin were sitting there, and I was like.
But like, think about this, like if you're able to give value to 95% of the market that, you know, I mean, for us, that's people, whether they're buyers, sellers, real estate tragics, whatever. If you can give people value adding stuff via social media, super consumable, a bit of fun, pops of color here and there, and it's just me and my best mate, you know, talking shit. And you can give value to 95%, the 5%, make it all worthwhile. The 5% are the ones that are going to pay the bills. The 95% are the fans that then share it to all their friends and family and people that actually are buyers. And it's incredible how that works. Like, you know, like I said, 90% of our stuff comes from Instagram. When I tell that to people, they're like, what? This industry is not, you know, via Instagram DMs. You're like, well, we're proving that right.
All right, guys, congratulations. You're halfway through this episode. I hope you guys are really enjoying it. But first, I just want to make a special thank you to Ideal Group Australia. Without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this podcast to you. So special thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Buckle in and get ready to listen to the end of this episode. And it is crazy the amount of success that, you know, all you got to do is, you know, some of the biggest hitters around, like they've all been built off the back of doing that. But something for me anyway that I've learned, different industry, because a lot of people have said to me, you know, oh, but are you really getting any more work from it? Like, you know, are they going to be actually strong? It's like, there's different avenues for it. I don't think it's also just for sales and like trying to win stuff, but credibility, you know, and it is subjective. What you might think is educational, what might you think is a good form of content, someone might not like. And like for me, I've tried to navigate those waters, but you get lost in the detail. And I feel like you just need to pick an avenue, and then, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be what you want. It might not hit. It might hit. Fucking some people might like it, some might not. It doesn't matter.
But if you're consistent, it's going to all pay off in the long run. You get those consistent eyeballs on it. The algorithm will love it. You'll keep showing it to people that do appreciate it, that do like it. I mean, I look back, you know, let's like flash it back to if I was still plumbing, I would have the same business model. Having what I've learned in the last years, I would have the same business model now, where you can give it all away for free. Be like, hey, water leak, this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn this is tips to turn off your water meter. We're going to get in here. This is how we're going to excavate it so that you don't get rocks down the broken pipe. You know, we're going to do a flush out. We're going to do this. Show people how you do it, and people will watch it and be like, that is interesting. That guy is funny. That is awesome. But I don't have the time, energy, the confidence to actually do that myself. So when I get a freaking water leak at my house, I'm going to call him. And that's exactly what we do. Like right now, like buying a house, it's not rocket science. It is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of phone calls, emails, text messages, ass kissing, all the rest of it to get the best result for your client. But it's not rocket science. You know, anyone can do it. And everyday punters do it. But when they watch our stuff for enough time and they're like, I do not have the emotional energy to do all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I want to. Like, I'm fired up. And often they'll be like, I've been listening to your podcast for 6 months. I have done everything that you've said to do. And I reckon I've lost out a couple of times to you guys. So I want that secret sauce. I want that last like 1% to get me over the line. And I want my Saturdays back.
Yeah. And as you go down the journey too, you get kids, you get businesses, depending on who you're dealing with, life gets busy. And, you know, even for me, like, fuck, it's, you know, I don't know how many more I could do personally by myself where I'm like, you know, and I've had the ability to go buy, like when I dealt with a buyer's agent, fantastic. I was like, this is great.
You never called me.
We're going to talk off this. But when I went down that path and I was like, this is fantastic. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck, all the stressor is gone. Like, I don't have to go the backwards and forwards. Like, it was nothing. It was just like, here's what it is. What do you want? I went back in where now when you're trying to go personal, it's fucking endless. Yeah. You're constantly going back and dealing with it. But anyway, I want us to go back a little bit, right? Because a lot of our listeners, they're guys that are either thinking about going on their own, whether they're changing industries, it doesn't matter. Same. Give us a little bit of a recap of when you made that decision. You know, you said that your mate came over and it was just, you know, for the most part looking in, it's just like, yeah, mate, no worries. Yeah, let's go. Boom, out the door. You both were just getting a full wage every single week. Fucking roses. How was that actual transition and what did it actually look like? Did you have kids at that point? Were you married? What was the, you know, there was obviously, it wasn't perfect. How did you land? Like, how did all that look? Because the amount of DMs that we get about guys that are like, I want to go out on my own, but I don't know how. Or how do we make the jump? Or, you know, I got 2 kids. It's like, fuck, there is no one size fits all.
There is no one size fits all. I can guarantee that. And I would always start with, if you do have, you know, a wife and kids like I do and did at the time, make sure you get their blessing, particularly if it's going to be a huge leap for you in terms of, you know, time commitments, you know, potential financial stress, whatever it may be. Yeah. Because if you don't have that support at home, it's going to reflect on your work life. And it's just no way to live either. Like, you're doing it for them. Like, you're going out there because you want to rip in and make something of you, this business, whatever it may be, for them as well. Then you don't want to ever feel like, far out, I'm burning it at work and then at home I'm coming home and everyone hates me because I'm never here. Yeah,
it's not worth it.
It isn't worth it. And you have to have those sort of conversations ahead of time. So you've got to make sure that there is that support there. For us, Sam and I were really lucky that, and again, like, this might not sound like, you know, we took the biggest of leaps, but, you know, we got talking to some people that invested in us, in the idea that we had, which is crazy to think when you look back, being like, you know, just like I'm telling you today, being like, hey, yes, we're servicing the 1%, but we want to be a resource for the 99%. And they're like, yeah, that'd work really well with a mortgage broker that we're partnered with. Why don't we all fall under the same umbrella? Yeah. So we've always had a level of safety there, knowing that we've got partners that are helping us, you know, particularly in those early days, just pay ourselves a little wage instead of starting at zero and from day one having commission breath with everyone that you speak to, because you're like, if I don't buy a house in the first couple of months, we are actually going to have to hand in the keys to our house. So that was great. But again, we covered all that off very early doors. Because exactly, we both have family and stuff that we weren't willing to put at risk for a dream, you know, for an idea. And we knew, we were so confident that this was going to be great, and it has been. It's probably been even exceeded all those expectations. But ahead of time, it's about, you know, projecting out, what does the worst case scenario look like here? For me personally, financially, you know, is there ways that I can offset this risk? Can I go and talk to another person in the industry, someone that's already done it, someone that's been like, hey, can I cut you in on this business or something, where I've got a level of protection here, at least to pay some bills early on. And I might be giving away a slice of the pie early, and that could mean enormous slice of the pie in a few years' time, but it allowed you to start, and it allowed you to build it the way you want to build it, as opposed to building it on a bed of sticks and then it completely, goes tits up because you were doing things the wrong way from day one.
And I think not a lot of guys talk about that, right? I had a guy in here, for you guys that are listening anyway, we had a guy in here last week on an episode, runs a very successful company. And we talked about that whole philosophy, because if you jump on socials, the first thing you see is like, oh, just quit your job fucking tomorrow.
Yeah, believe in yourself and it'll all be fine. Do enough push-ups and deep breathing and get cold and you'll be fine.
There's no context to like actual life. And I think that's what I'm just trying to bring awareness to is like, I know a lot of people just hear it, just, we just fucking did it. Like I just did it. But it's like, well, no, like it was, and yes, there's no one shoe fits all. As you said, you guys spoke to your partners, you got a little bit, and as you said, you're giving away a little bit of the pie. There would be no fucking pie if you didn't give away a little bit of the pie. And I think like for me, when I was even last week when we were talking to that other guy, he was, to win jobs, we're talking about our industry, to win jobs, a lot of the time you're doing it for fucking zero. Nothing. Yeah. And if anything, you're probably going backwards a little bit. But how do you build a relationship otherwise?
100%. And you know what I mean? And you can't give off that perception either. Yeah. Like you've got to...
You don't have no brand. You got no fucking anything. It's like, how do you do it anyway? It's like you can talk as much shit as you want and you can have this bravado and everything about you, but it's nothing. You have to build the relationship and the brand and everything like that. And in order to do that, a lot of the time, you got to go in next to nothing.
We say... this is not just for business. This is for, real estate. This is for everything. Slow down to speed up is a great analogy for everything. Yeah. If you can slow down, have more conversations, gather more information, prepare, and then when the time allows it, speed up, and you'd be amazed. It's like drawing back an arrow. Yeah. You might be going backwards a little bit, but you're about to get fired out the front of that boat.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's you can't just ice bath your way to success. No. Like it is hard work.
Yeah.
Everything is hard work. And some of that hard work you don't get a cent for. Like you gotta, and that is the stuff that
you would know it the best, right?
You just gotta
buyer's agent, prime example. For you guys that have never used a buyer's agent, a lot of the time these guys, they're not getting paid until the fucking, they might get a little thing at the start.
But it is on settlement.
Exactly.
And that could be 3 months down the track.
Fucking ages.
And
right?
you are putting hundreds of hours into that client, thousands. Who, like, man,
you would be sick. You would be sick to, these guys would be sick to write down every single hour, every single phone call down to the T, and then times it all up, put it to the commission they're going to get and be like, fuck, like.
There's your bill.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
When that mantra, that slow down to speed up, it's, something that we've always said, Sam and I, but it's something that we've got our potential clients to buy into a lot more in the last 12 months about before we ever let you engage us, we're going to slow right down. We need to make sure that, if the first property we see, whether it be off market, on market, whatever it may be, we need to be ready to buy it. We cannot miss an opportunity. We don't intend to buy the first thing we see, but we need to be ready for it. So that involves a lot of preparation beforehand, making sure they act. Like we have an offer written out with everything, bar the address and the price, before we even start the search.
Yeah.
We've done all the feasibility homework with them. We've stacked it up being like, hey, here's the last 30 sales that have happened in the areas that you want to buy based on your budget and key requirements. How many of them would you have bought had you had the opportunity to? And they go through that. And if they flicked, 29 of them, fuck no. Well, we're not here to create a miracle. We're not here to go out and find the needle in a haystack.
You can't change the market.
We've got to make sure that what we're looking for is what we're looking for is out there. We're just trying to find the next one. Making sure people are ready, prepared to buy something. And honestly, sometimes decisions have to be made quickly, because opportunities will blow past you. But that is slowing down to speed up. And that applies to buying real estate.
You have to be ready as well. And that's something that I found, the opportunity might be, but if you're not ready, there's no opportunity. You have to have all your ducks lined up, your finances, fucking everything there ready to go. Yeah, everything ready to go. And then when it fucking turns up, then take it.
Yeah. Same for business. You know, if you can slow right down, work out the ins and outs of how this is going to go well, how this is likely going to go, and how could this go really fucking bad, and prepare for all of those potential scenarios. Talk to people that have done it. Get advice, gather information, prepare as much as you possibly can. I know this is probably a surefire way to never start a business because you spend too much time preparing, but at least putting yourself, like giving yourself the foundation to actually kick on and go and do it. Because it's always going to be hard work, but you want to make sure that hard work has the ability to actually pay dividends at some point.
At some point, yeah. And what that point is, who knows?
Who knows?
That's the
good luck, everyone.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Some hit it quick, some hit it, they go 10 years. But I guess it's, you've either got it in you or you don't. You don't want to, if you got to do it for the right thing. But, talking about opportunities, I deal with a lot of developers and stuff, and the common thing that I find is a lot of them say, "Oh fuck, I missed out on this, I missed out on that." It's like, that guy always gets it. I think it's so true that a lot of the big hitters that are getting these deals off market or whatever it may be, they're getting them because, number one, they're fucking ready to go, and if they're getting a phone call from someone, like, they're gonna take it. Like,
sure,
whoever, if person A rings person B and they say, "Hey man, listen, I got this," one and done situation, they know that they're taking that fucking chance. It's like the finances are done, everything's ready to go. Send the contract, fucking done.
I'm talking like
best terms ever. And that's a relationship build as well,
mate. No doubt. Like, okay, so like prior to the last, call it 6 to 8 months, we were working with predominantly families, owner occupiers, couple of investors here and there. In the last 6 to 8 months,
who do you like working better with?
Mate, it's all different. Hey, like if you're working with a developer or an investor, a lot of it's just logical. It's just got to be feasible. It's got to stack up. The numbers have to work, and you just got to try and get through as many doors as you can and find the one that's going to fit for them. For families, there's a lot of emotion in that, and like the stuff you take on with that buyer is completely different, and it is harder. But the payoff at the end is just so different. You are there having a swim in their new pool, cracking a beer, and just being like, "How
with
great
investors
is this?"
and developers,
and they will never forget
thanks,
you.
mate.
Like they will never forget you. Like you are part of their family. You're a part of their life moving forward. On the developer side of things and opportunities and how that works, this is the Easters, the Sabdias of the world, like the Greys, they get the call because they are the best buyer. You just need to be identified as a best buyer. As a buyer's agent, yes, I am making 100 phone calls a week to all the agents, telling them who we're buying for, but also being privy to what else is happening out there.
And you got to go to them with the right deal too. Like a lot of these guys that are like that, they're not idiots. If you go into them with if they think they're going to get fucking jammed up, they're like, yeah, nah.
Well, how's this? Like, I'll use an example. Like last week, agent calls me, and this is call it like a 24-hour tender. It's a little old lady's house, post-war, knocked down, great block, elevated, right aspect. He's like, I'm calling you. I'm calling 5 other developers. We'll work it out in the next 24 hours. Yeah. So you got to do your FISO quick. You got to be ready. You got to be ready to buy. And
that's it.
We missed it. We were working from the developer I'm working for at the time. They're a mum and dad developer. Their margins are a bit tighter. They just don't have the ability to sort of flex as much as others do. Yeah. We missed it by a feather. But again, that process is more common than you think. But you need to be able to get that phone call. Because the first time a lot of people are going to see that is when it's a sold result. They're going to see it pop on realestate.com.
That's it. You don't even get the opportunity.
1, 2, 3 example street sold for this. And then you're just like, what? Look at that block. Look at that house. It's a freaking blowover. It's got the perfect aspect. It's got a 22-meter frontage. Yeah. Why? How did I not see that? You never did see it because it didn't exist. Yeah. It didn't exist other than a phone call to 5 people.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah.
But the work that it takes to identify yourself, to put the flare on your head, to be like, hey, we are the best buyer in the market. And this can apply to anyone. It's not just developers. I know it's probably more, it hits home for a lot of guys that are in that space because they're like, I want to get that phone call. You got to put in the work to do it. If it's even just finding out the areas that you want to buy in, identify the 20 best agents and just send them a text every Tuesday or Wednesday being like, hey, I'm Corey. I'm chasing this, this, and this. I'm working with a budget of this, but call me about anything you've got coming up. You might not get a reply to the first one or the second one or the third one or the fifth one, but you might get a call after 6 weeks being like, Corey, I've been getting all of your texts. I think I've got something for you. Because you've gone out there and you've put the flare on your head being like, I'm here. I'm a real buyer.
You've got to action it too. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. The
consistency we spoke about with the podcast. Remember that being like, hey, it's all good, well and good doing a podcast for 5 weeks and then being like, shit, this is hard and we're not very good at it and let's get out of here. Same thing with trying to buy a property. Yeah. You got to be consistent with it. If you stop that text after 1 week, how can you expect, these guys driving Lambos to actually remember who you are and give you a call?
And it's not going to happen, And like, I've spoken to a lot of real estate agents, the same thing. Like they'll do that. The person will be like, yeah, I got this. Like, put me on. And then you do, and then fucking ghost you. Like, yeah, I found you one. Yeah, nothing. It's like, well, fuck.
It is a off-markets, and I'll always preface this with any of our clients, is it's a pretty weird and wonderful world. Remember, like, for us, we'll be broadcasting who our buyers are. We want to know anything that they are even appraising. So agents will go, sit at a living room table. They'll talk through, what they're doing, what they're charging, all the rest of what their intentions are for strategy to sell that property. But they'll be using buyers and buyers agents that they've got in their CRM as almost like a way to progress them, being like, I already have your buyer. Chase and Sam from Happy Buyers Club, they're chasing this exact property. They will leave that appraisal or that listing appointment, call us and be like, hey, here's the address. Don't go and drive past there and scare this little old lady, please. All you'll have is a description from the agent. This property may have never been sold before. You're working off a Google Street View and a description.
Yeah.
But that is the weird and wonderful world of off-market properties. If, yep, that sounds great, let's go through it, you might go there and be like, this is nothing like what you described to me. But it is just, again, there can be ones like that where it's like, that's probably the best story that you're going to hear. The worst of them is the one, like you said, where it's like, cool, I've got this place, and then it just never eventuates. It's because they might have interviewed 8 other agents. They didn't get the listing, and all of a sudden you're not allowed to go see it. So you got to track it down another way. It is a weird and wonderful world. Off-market properties, it sounds so sexy and so cool.
Isn't it funny?
You're not stealing anything off-market. You will be paying good money to a premium to secure something off-market. Otherwise, they would just bring it to market.
Yeah.
The only other time that you're picking stuff up off-market is just because it's a circumstantial thing, whether it's a separation, whether it's a deceased estate, whether it's tenanted and they can't trust that the tenant is going to look after the place enough for an open home, but they're happy to have buyers agents through that can look past the bongs and all the rest of it to be like, yep, this is fine. We'll take it on. And that's just that might just be a cash flow thing, or they want to put money into something else. But off-market properties is not, it's not Gucci, bro. It's like, you trudging through a lot of tenanted properties, a lot of places where you're like,
and it's risk. Like, so I bought off market before. That whole process of off market, when I went down the buyer's agent route, it was questionable because this whole off market thing that everyone hears about, fucking every developer out there, when they market purchasing a property, they're always going to market it as we bought it off market. Because it sounds fucking glamorous. Oh, they must have some sort of sexy relationship with someone. But for me, when I did it, it was like, it was all done. Contract was done. Same. I wasn't allowed to go there. Fucking the thing got done. I was just going through the buyer's agent and everything like that. That's how it was all hush-hush. Got it done. Contract fulfilled. Everything settled. After the fact, I was like, fuck, did I get a good buy?
Because you don't have
and then if it went to market, would it have got the, and then it's all hindsight after that. It's all fucking,
for sure.
Same as what we were talking about.
Again, if you've got a buyer's agent that knows their stuff and can run you through what a comparable sales report would look like and why we can see value up to a certain point and where we would draw a hard line and what would be paying a premium, what's stealing this thing, and everyone can have confidence in whatever you're paying. You've been given an opportunity away from the market. Had it gone to market, it could have gone for $100,000 more. You allow enough people to get emotional about something and enough people to fight over it. The price is only going in one direction. So, you've got to make sure that you are doing the research, slowing down to speed up on the determining where value sits off market, because it's a great opportunity. But you'll always have that feeling about had it come to market, would I have got it for less? But then a lot of people that are only seeing stuff on market are like, I'm sick of the competition. I'm sick of having to negotiate with 10 other parties. I'm sick of having to go to auction and miss out. I would much rather be given something where I just get the choice. It's either yes or no, and you're negotiating.
And no one's putting fucking prices up on realestate.com anymore. It's all contact agent or auction.
That's for good reason too. They want as many eyeballs as possible. They want enough, as many people as possible believing that they can't afford it. And that's going to create one thing: emotion, stress. People are getting there and they're like, sweet, there is literally 400 cars parked out the front here. I'm never going to find my shoes again at the front door here. And that's not going to make people think, geez, I'm going to steal this thing. All they're thinking is like, oh my God, I need to go call my great grandmother and ask for a loan.
What was a $450 property is now selling for $650 because everyone's just emotionally driven.
That entry-level market, whether it be units, townhouses, or, entry level houses, let's call it.
And this is what I like. This is the level that a lot of probably the listeners are looking. You know, they're either looking to purchase their first property or their second or whatever.
That is the most competitive market.
It's ridiculous.
Because affordability has driven everyone to the bottom end of the market. We call it the bottom end. It is just entry level. It's smaller dwellings, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's mental. It is mental. And no wonder people are just so over it because they're just like far out. Like, I just want to see something away from the competition.
Yeah.
That next tier up, that sort of like family home, like 3 or 4 bed, that's just hard in terms of stock because I think a lot of people that are in, you know, they might have bought, 7 or 8 years ago, they're not really in a moving frame of mind right now.
Yeah.
Like fuel is expensive. Groceries are expensive. Everything is expensive. You know, the mortgage itself, you know, their like wages haven't gone up by 50% in the last, call it 5 years, but their house value has, and they've got to pay the mortgage and the rates that come with it. So that's tricky because they're not moving on to the $2 million house. People that want to move from the entry level place into the nice family home, it's just limited stock, and it just creates this monster.
It's actually so true that you say that because for me, like. Like I look realestate.com every day nearly at the moment.
Very tragic.
And it is true. Like you just map it and it's so true. Like that whole philosophy of entry level, then people wanted to go up. It hasn't come in line. As you said, people that are sitting in that $600,000 home, their pay hasn't doubled over fucking night. So they're not able to then to go into like that $1.5, $2 million. So do you think that market, that million plus or that $1 million to $2 million mark is sort of a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but if you're able to purchase
I would say that anything in the early ones and certainly sub one, hyper competitive growth is continuing to just
so
like
still,
Brisbane is just
still a
flying.
dogfight,
Mid ones to mid twos, which is wild. Like that is eye-watering money. But that is what family homes in good suburbs of Brisbane are selling for. Yeah. And that market is as fair as it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like I said, like those sellers are not moving on to, they're not moving into Bulimba like they would the natural progression of buying the big flash house on the avenue in Camp Hill. Yeah. They are probably just content with what they've got, just getting by and, waiting for the world to turn a little bit.
Yeah.
So that market is just fair. Like you look back at results from 6 months ago, you could probably flash forward to today and there'd be a very slight increment in those prices. So it's good for buyers trying to enter that market. It's just a tight market in terms of stock. The gap though, and what we've found is that the gap between where the seller's expectations are and where the actual value for that house is based on all those factors is getting bigger and bigger because the seller thinks that their house has run away. They're like, oh, well, I bought it, 2 years ago, so it must be worth this.
Yeah.
But in reality, that market has flattened. Their expectations have continued to grow, and there's this gap that's now formed in the middle. And it's on, good buyers agents, and good sellers and good selling agents to work out how we can actually make a deal happen here. If there's a need to sell and there's a need to buy, a deal is there to be struck.
It'll get done,
it's just about finding where that, and for a lot of people, the number is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But wild to think that we're talking like, normal family buying is what, $1.5 million plus, like far out. That is,
it's crazy.
Those numbers, when you're in it every day, it sort of loses its, like the reality of it all. Because you're like, oh yeah, 1.7, that's a pretty good home, needs a bit of work. And you're like, what? $1.7 million in that house is not even close to perfect. It needs some work and all this sort of stuff. It's not lost on me particularly. That is a wild amount of money.
Yeah, because a lot of the guys, they're mate, if you go 45 minutes out of Brisbane, an hour out of Brisbane, there are houses out there selling for $950. It's crazy what's going on out there. And it's even, we could go down that rabbit hole. Like it is becoming harder, but it's like one of those things. Yeah. Like if you want to get into the market in like 1.5, like fuck, you need to start somewhere.
That's it. Yeah. And like, where we are right now, I'm not going to give away the ghosts of where your office is, but like, the area around here is good entry level buying because it's the next suburb up. Yeah, it's not like it might not be a Holland Park or or a Mount Gravatt or a Camp Hill or anything like that, but it's it's sort of one of those ones that's going to be the next one up. And people can buy a good family home here, 3-bed, 2-bath, and still be buying around $1 million to 1.1. And like that is, if you believe in an area and be like, cool, we've got to start somewhere. We've got dogs. We want to have a run around. We've got kids. It's got good infrastructure. It's got good cafes. It's got a couple of good breweries. Like this is good family living.
Yeah.
You know, some people have just got to shake off the suburb name sometimes.
Oh man, I've seen some of the fucking suburbs that get the most flack around. Logan being one of them. Everyone used to throw so much shade and it still gets a bad rap. But I'm telling you now, there are houses out there still selling 750, 800, fucking 850, you name it. It's going up and up and up. And
affordability will mean that people, you know, more families will find their way into those pockets and it will gentrify and it will improve. It doesn't happen overnight. Like, you know, and it's, you got to have an eye for the future. Real estate is not a short-term game.
No.
You're not buying it to think about what it's going to be worth next month. You're not even going to be buying it to what it's going to sell for in a year's time. It's expensive to buy and sell a house. You can just literally light $100,000 on fire in stamp duties, transfer costs, agency fees, whatever it may be, solicitors, building and pest inspections. It's call it $100,000. That's a freaking expensive exercise to undertake. So anything that you do in real estate should be with a view for the long term. So if you can see an area that you think that in 5 years' time is going to be something that's really exciting for you and you've got the opportunity to get in there now, if it's a house that's a 7 out of 10, go and buy it. You're never going to find perfection. You're never going to buy the dream house. And I'm sorry if anyone out there is just like, my dreams have been shattered. The perfect house doesn't exist, but good real estate decisions are there to be found.
I'm sure you would deal with people that perfection is the only thing that they want.
It's all about compromise. It's all about compromise.
But Nick, where are we at? Oh, we're getting there. But alrighty, so going back, I know we have been yapping now.
My fault,
you guys.
That's my fault.
It's been good. For you guys that are listening anyway, listen, I know it's not exactly, you know, construction related, but it's giving you guys an insight. If you guys are thinking about buying or anything like that, it's giving you some more info about all that sort of stuff and those avenues to go down. And sure, reach out to Chase, you know what I mean? He has great content on his page as well. So go out there and, you know, look into him a little bit as well. Okay. Talk to me about this. Correct me if I'm wrong. FIFO. No. No.
I wish I could fly out of this question.
All right. So let's miss that. All right. Now, with Happy Buyers Club, what is your plan and where is that moving currently at the moment?
So ideally, there is a way in which we have built and are building a huge audience via these social channels.
Because it's only you two. It's only
just us two. And that's the thing.
Like, and you guys are two years in.
There's two of us. We do everything. We do the podcasts. We do all of the social posting. We do all of the work, all of the onboarding, all of the admin, everything. And there's only so much that two people can do. Even two people that believe in something and that want it to succeed and have all the skin in the game. There is only so many hours in the day. There's only so many clients that we can service to an extremely high level at one time. And there's only so many people that are willing to sit on a wait list. So for us, the future is technology. If there's a way that we can leverage, you know, the eyeballs that we have on us, the expertise that we have, the way in which that we've communicated to every client that's ever, you know, sent an inquiry or actually engaged us, and give them something that doesn't require us to be physically hands-on, that's the future for us. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we want to be able to help more people at a higher level instead of just helping the very 1%, you know, on a bigger scale.
Because you got obviously kids and fucking everything. Like that's,
and for us, like, we could bring on staff.
Yeah.
You know, we get a message a week from someone being like, hey, can I come work for you? And we're like, that sounds wonderful. Thank you for thinking that would be a good idea. But I'm going to, like, we'll have a coffee with people and be like, this is the reality of it, man. There's nothing sexy about it. Like, you know, sit at that chair, get up 10 hours later, you've eaten lunch there and you've just made 100 phone calls and grinded through like due diligence on these properties. It's pretty unsexy.
Open homes and it's
like, that's probably the good part. At least you get to walk, get up and do something. But, you know, for us, there is only so much two people can do. If we were to bring on other staff, that has a risk coming with it. There's a time risk there where you take all the time to onboard them and then they work out, holy shit, this sucks. Or you're putting them in front of your biggest asset, which is your clients, and they stuff up. And we do have a very high bar that Sam and I set, and we have a lot of trust in each other that we're going to do the right thing at all times for us, our business, and our clients. So for us, the future is with technology, it's with partners, it's with diversifying, I think, somehow. But the core of it will always be a resource and a free resource for as many people as possible, so that Happy Buyers Club is just synonymous with just good buying. That people are like, cool, I've listened to the podcast, I've read the book, I digested all the resources. Even if we didn't get $1 out of their entire journey, the fact that they're a fan along the way is going to help us with whatever we decide to do moving forward.
Yeah. I'm loving it.
Technology is a weird thing, man.
Oh man,
I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something.
We could chat for like fucking 3 hours about AI and all this other bullshit that's coming in. Oh, it's crazy. Even in construction.
I'll just send my chatbot in for the next podcast, so you can just answer for me.
Yeah, trick, guys. I'm not even here. It's just all AI. All right.
That's why we got the cameras.
Yeah. Nah, sweet, man. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it there. I think we've covered off a lot. For you guys that have listened through the whole thing, I'm sure your head is probably going to explode. But Chase, I want to thank you again, man, for jumping on. And I told you, it goes like that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. It was an absolute pleasure.
Hey, guys, thanks for listening to this week's episode. If something hit home for you, it would mean the absolute world to us if you could like and share this podcast with someone else that would benefit from it. Tune in to next week's episode, as this will be one that you don't want to miss.